Today, I'm going to try to draw this neighborhood facade in Tongyeong, South Korea. It's my first day here, and I'm jumping right into it. Something I am immediately noticing is that the light is less diffused here than on Jeju Island. If I had to guess, it would be due to maybe mist from the ocean on the island, but also I don't know what I'm talking about. But heading out in the middle of the day here in Tongyeong with what seems like less diffusion means it's a little bit harder to find things that look nice. Um, I'm absolutely just being over selective, being picky as usual. But some of the other things I might have chosen to draw, for instance, a view from the harbor here in town, were in such horrendous light, I couldn't subject you to it, or myself, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't have wanted to look at that or draw it. But um, I was lucky enough to stumble upon this little scene, though, which even with the harsh-ish light, it still manages to look nice. I think there's some intrigue here, even though it's pretty two-dimensional. It's pretty flat, um, giving me a few different things to work on without being too overwhelming. But we'll see how it goes. As opposed to yesterday's confidently loose technique that seemed to come out of nowhere, today is anything but that. It's evident that I'm doing a concerning amount of looking up and down, which on one hand is good because I'm paying attention to what I'm looking at, trying to commit to memory where things should go. But on the other hand, it's not so good because I'm getting caught up in it, obsessing over things that really don't need to be perfect. You can see that I'm hesitating a lot, maybe even more than usual. I'm not sure why. Um, I wanted to look as close to the reference as I can manage in the allotted time. And not that there is some specific time, but once I reach 10 minutes, I'm starting to stress out a bit. And then once it hits 15 minutes, I'm really in a rush. But I'm clearly going through a lot of trouble to make these things precise. Ironically, these things never end up exactly correct. So by the end, they can feel like a lot of wasted time in the beginning. Also, my pen was acting up here and there, so that didn't help with with the hesitation. This one, much like number 12 from a couple of days ago, is made up of a lot of rectangles. If it wasn't for the scooter, which I'm happily just sketching in, and a handful of other details, this one would probably have been unbearable. But I'm not thinking about that when I choose it. And to be honest, I'm not thinking about it as I'm drawing it either. The process itself has been largely enjoyable. Not just this one, all of them, save for one or two drawings that we won't mention. It's really just the final result that I might find irritating. Well, that and watching the process back. So yes, it's nice and enjoyable to do them, but if I don't critique this sort of fly on the wall perspective, which is the only one that you have access to, I think I'd be doing you a disservice. But it does make for a bit of a strange relationship with this whole process. It's like I'm in a dream while I'm in the process of actively drawing. I'm getting lost in it, and I think that's probably a good thing. But then as soon as I look away for a few seconds, when I'm finished with the drawing, seeing it again can be a little disconcerting. Once I click out of that dreamy drawing mode and see clearly again, it's kind of like I blacked out for 15 minutes. If anything, making these videos lets me see this sort of lost version of my experience, but it also might be helping me see clearly what I couldn't had I not recorded it, which then means I can find the issues in not only the conclusion, like the final drawing, but the steps that got me there. Each time I draw one of these, I get to watch myself make these decisions, whether they're hesitant or confident. And I have a feeling that is going to be massively advantageous as I continue learning. So yeah, I have this process of basically being blacked out for 15 minutes. I have the final result to look at, and then luckily I have this whole video to watch back and see every little decision that I make. Oh, and did you happen to notice something new and different and exciting about my setup? Probably not, but I got that stool that I won't shut up about. I went into the first outdoor supply store that I could find, and the stools and chairs and stuff were placed right in front. They were the first things that I saw, so I just bought one right there on the spot. No point in wasting time looking around for a better or cheaper option, although I surely could have found one, especially cheaper. It doesn't matter though, this one will get so much use. I was happy to just get it done right then and there. Now I have a reliable, reasonably comfortable way to draw practically anything I see. I don't have to mention standing anymore or sitting on the ground. It's super light, super compact. This and my tripod are actually the same length, give or take just a few centimeters, which means they can sit next to each other perfectly in the bottom of my tote that I now carry religiously, just in case I need to draw at a moment's notice. And I can put one on either side of my backpack when I'm traveling. Overall, a very good purchase, making this process that much simpler, ensuring that I actually get out and do these. I miss so many good opportunities due to having nowhere to sit in Jeju, but no more. This solves that completely. I'm pretty excited about it. Okay. Getting in more and more of these rectangles and also making sure the scooter doesn't get lost in the process. And somewhere around here, I'm starting to see the scooter as a major element. Somewhere in my blacked out hypnotic state, I'm realizing that without that, these rectangles are going to drive me crazy. So I go back over it a few times over the course of this drawing, and it's funny to me that I was able to so nonchalantly like draw in the scooter, a shape that definitely could benefit from some attention. But meanwhile, I just obsess with I'm obsessed with making sure all the lines that, ultimately don't matter all that much get plenty of my attention. This is what I'm talking about. It's just so interesting to watch the process back. I don't know why I'm making all the decisions that I am, but seeing it happen retrospectively means that I can go into the next one with that knowledge and understanding. Now, will I apply these things in my strange days tomorrow? Maybe not, but at least we'll see it happen or not together. There's so much deliberating going on here. You could see it in my hesitation, but also just in my disjointed method, like the order of operations. It's clear that I have no sense of the order of things. One minute I'm drawing these like big shapes, like windows and sides of the building, and the next I'm shading a window that might not even need it to begin with. And then I'm back to the shapes. I know I should just stick with getting the outline done before jumping into some disparate component. But I'm just bouncing back and forth between this and that, and it feels right in the moment. That's the problem. Sometimes it feels like I'm at the whim of whatever my eye catches first. upon looking back up at the reference, if I notice that the windows happen to be the darkest part of the scene, like in this one, well, it's as though my brain can't let it go, and I just have to tend to it immediately. I'd love for this not to be the case. I much prefer to step out of it just for a second so that I can take stock of what's left before moving on prematurely, as I've done and keep doing here in this drawing and before. Why I would shade in some windows before even outlining others is beyond me. That's something I need to try to be conscious of because it just makes this process that much more difficult and extended when I do it this way. Um, Watching myself back, it drives me a little crazy to see shading going on when the building on the right doesn't even have its windows yet. So hopefully that's something that I can alter in the coming drawings. Well, anyway, so Tongyeong, if I'm saying it incorrectly, don't hate me. I'm doing my best. I think that's how it's pronounced, Tongyeong. Why did we come here? What was so interesting about it? Well, in an attempt to continue avoiding bigger cities, we headed to the internet to gather some options. We read some blogs and watched some videos on YouTube and kind of just landed on this place sort of on a whim. It looked nice and relaxing, and coming from Jeju, we were eager to get as much of that as possible. We wanted more. Honestly, we should have stayed in Jeju another week or two, but ironically enough, we've still never been to Seoul. If you don't know, that's the capital of South Korea. And ultimately won't this time, other than when we fly out, when we leave the country. We actually didn't even fly in to Seoul. We came from Taipei, Taiwan, which is actually where I concocted this whole drawing thing, the YouTube channel. I digress. So Tongyeong was our attempt at extending our coastal small town experience. And while it's certainly quite different from Jeju, it's pretty relaxing so far, and nothing beats being by the water. I think there are very few foreigners here, and in fact, we've met a few Koreans today who've never even been here and were surprised we found it at all. I know there are loads of things to do from here in this whole region, but we don't have all that much time as it is, and I think I'm over the rental car process for now. If I get to hang out by the harbor and draw a bit, take some pictures, I think I'll be perfectly content. At this point in my life, I tend not to feel like I need to hit all of the must-see spots or try all of the local food. We're always traveling. I know I've mentioned that before, but my wife and I live abroad, so this is our everyday. We travel with all of our stuff in bags and duffel bags. So it's our everyday. So it would be exhausting anyway, but that also means that it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to return. So I'm not worried about hitting every single thing. And that is relaxing. It's a really relaxing feeling to know that there's a possibility of coming back. If I felt like I had to accomplish everything in one go at the risk of never coming back, it would, I almost definitely negatively affect the experience. So sometimes, especially in places like here, Tongyeong, where there's not necessarily always been some deep desire to visit, I am more than fine with living like a local, as cliche as that sounds, just popping into some shops here or there or parks or what have you. That'll be just fine for me. Something I've been thinking about a lot is the balance between realism in drawing and, well, I guess interpretation. Um, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but something hyper real and something not so hyper real. This drawing is a decent example of what I mean and also why I'm interested. And not that I can do it, but, but if you were to draw this scene as realistically as possible, I would imagine that the general feeling would inherently come along with that realism. But if I put some personal spin on it, or in my case, tried to, I wonder what things would be non-negotiable for me or someone to include to retain the essence of the scene. I'm obviously at such an introductory stage, so I'm not concerned at all with actually doing that right now. But I am interested in understanding the pieces, the parts of a drawing that might carry the most weight. I think it's the lines, the silhouette, but part of me feels like I know that that's not true. Like, is it shading? Is it as simple a thing as shading? To be honest, I don't even know what methods would or could be taken to stylize a drawing, because right now my brain is just so intent on reflecting on the paper what I see in front of me. Um, any level of stylization would be purely accidental. Um, I guess in the most straightforward of terms, how simple could you draw something like this facade, while still accurately portraying it, and what method would achieve that? Um, yeah, so that's just something I've been thinking about. As you can see on the drawing, I'm putting the like electric lines. I always do that, and I guess for this one, it sort of does make sense. But yeah, I have a long way to go to make scenes like this one look the way that I want them to, the way that they are in my head. But I don't think the general shapes are too far off or even necessarily bad. I think if someone who knew what they were doing had another, I don't know, 2 minutes with what I have here, I feel like they could probably get it to where it needs to go. I'm just not that person, and I'm not sure what to do next to get it there. I feel like another 15 minutes of me shading could either make it exactly what I want, maybe not exactly, get it closer to how it is in my head, or break it completely and ruin it for me. So for now, I'm glad this is where I kept it. It's much more of a line drawing, but I'm aware there's a lot more for me to do. There's a lot more potential in what I've drawn here, but I don't know how to unlock it just yet. Anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe, please. Tell your friends, all the YouTube stuff. I appreciate you very much for taking the time. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.